Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of What Has Changed Your Life. Women in business. There's not many of us out there in business. It's growing. It's a growing community for sure, but more women should get into business. So today our topic is about women in business, how you can start a business, where do you go, all those things. Today, my guest is Stephanie Wynn. She's an author, a mentor, and she has her own podcast called Let's Talk Business with Stephanie Wynn. And if you want her website, there it is. Welcome, Stephanie, to this episode of What Has Changed Your Life.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much,
Oh, you're
Tracy.
very welcome. So, how did you get into business?
Well, I started my first business at the age of 23. I started an ice cream shop, and I had such a passion for starting this business that I had no point of reference. I had no resources. I had no foundation built. And so my goal was to have this ice cream shop so that I could make a difference in my community. I wanted the children who were in the community to be able to afford ice cream. I wanted to change the lives and families. And so in my community, there wasn't an ice cream shop within like a 5-mile radius. So I
Really?
wanted to, yes. So I wanted to change the narrative on that and to give the kids a sense of hope, to give the kids, they go to school, they come home, they get to go to the ice cream shop in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and then just to see their smiles. So I wanted to create an experience, but I just didn't have that foundation, that solid foundation. And it wasn't until I met a friend of mine who recommended that I take some business classes on entrepreneurship that
Mm-hmm.
could help me build that foundation so that I can be successful.
Entrepreneurship is something that scares a lot of people,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And taking that
Hmm.
first step, where do people start? If they're like, okay, I have this idea
Hmm.
and I want to, like an ice cream shop,
Hmm.
how do I go from there to making this a reality? Where's step number one?
Well, step number one, you need to have a plan. Like, what's the
Mhm.
plan of action? Like, why are you starting this business, right? Are you starting this business just to make a difference in the lives of other people? Or are you starting this business just for notoriety purposes? So I think asking yourself those questions and planning out this business in the beginning, because what I've noticed and what I've seen is that we'll start a business and we'll start marketing to all these people and we
Mhm.
have no sense of direction. And so what
Yeah.
happens is once we've sold our product or service to our friends and family and then the buzz died down, then we get frustrated because there's nothing, no other sales. The sales have stopped. And that's because we never planned. We never thought to just, I need to have a plan of action before I move forward in this
Right.
business. Hmm.
Creating a business plan.
Yes.
Yes. So how does somebody, okay, because I'll tell you, when I started my studio for my
Okay.
fitness classes, I unfortunately it wasn't something that I actually was planning on doing. I
Okay.
was kind of thrown into starting this business,
Okay.
and it was out of necessity, basically. So I ended up getting thrown into this business. So I know exactly what you're saying in terms of not having a plan
Hmm.
because I didn't have a plan at all. I
Okay.
was flying by the seat of my pants.
Yes. I I I know what that feels like.
I had no idea what I was
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
I did not know how to market myself at all. Like,
Right.
I still struggle a bit with marketing.
Okay.
And unfortunately, when you're absolutely right, when that happens, it's hard for you to go to the next level if you
Hmm.
don't have that foundation.
Right.
So
Right.
I wish I had had that wise wisdom back 5 years ago when I was creating this business
Hmm.
and to make a business plan. So how does somebody make a business plan? How does that even, like, what is it and how do you make one?
So with, as technology has grown, the old way of doing a business plan, it's still valid when you're trying to get lenders, when you're wanting to get bank financing, right? Where you get the executive summary, you have this big, thick business plan, right? But they have something more simplistic, which I really love. It's called the Business Canvas Model. And that's a one-pager business plan. And there's about, I think, 7 or 9 blocks in this this business canvas model. And what it does is it teaches you, like, you talk about the expenses, the revenue that you're going to generate, who are your key partners, who are your customers, what value do you bring to this business. So I think the business canvas model is much more simplistic for the startup so that you can actually see exactly what you're doing. I have the business canvas model in my workbook. I created a workbook for startups so that they can have this business canvas model so that they can write out their plan so they can see it. I think a one pager, if you see it, if you put all the pieces together on one page, it just makes it so much more simplistic that way when you're planning your business.
Right. And when people are also, you touched a bit on it, when people are planning a business or creating this business, you've got to have a why, right? Because your business, I mean, some people are lucky and their business takes off, and within the first 6 months to a year, they're doing great and making all kinds of money and blah, blah, blah. But that's generally not the reality of it, is it?
Right, right. So what I like to tell people is you need to ask yourself the who, why, what, and how, right? That's what the business canvas model really is like, who are the people that you're going to be serving? What are their needs? Like, do you know what their needs are? You should know their needs before you start selling to them. Like, find out how your business is going to fit in the marketplace. Where is it going to fit in the marketplace? And then go from there. I think sometimes we see people online, like you said, some businesses, they just take off. And that's because they found a niche, they've niched down and they found a need in the marketplace for their business. And so a lot of them take off. I think a lot of businesses, whether they take off, it appears that they're taking off, they've been in the trenches too. They had to start from somewhere. And a lot of us we're entrepreneurship is all about, going to the drawing board, starting over, going back to the drawing board, fixing something. You mentioned that in the beginning, you just fell into the business. You didn't have that foundation. A lot of us don't, right? A lot of us don't. And so we figure it out along the way. But I think now I feel as though if you have this plan, if you just have a simplistic plan, it doesn't have to be complex. It just has to be a plan of action. How are you going to market the business? How are you going to promote the business? Where are you going to market it? Where are you going to promote it, right? If you have these questions answered, who are the people that are most likely to be interested in your product or services? If you have those questions answered, that's half the battle. Right? Yeah. So I think if we ask those questions in the beginning, before we start selling to our friends and family, I think it'll save us a lot of frustration and headache in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think having that foundation is so important. And asking those questions for sure.
Yes.
Right? It's hard when you've started the business already and you're going along like I was, blindly trying to figure it all out. It's really hard. And one thing I learned was I should have asked for help. Right. Gotcha. And I think a lot of people are afraid to go and ask for help from experts like yourself because they're like, well, I should be able to do this on my own. And, this is my business, whatever. But it takes a village, doesn't it?
That's
to create
correct.
a business and make it successful.
Right.
So asking for help, I think, is a myth we can dispel right
Mm-hmm.
now. Ask for
Mm-hmm.
help.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Where do you think one of the first places people, when they're starting their business, they've got their business plan, they have answered their why question as to why they're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the next step for them to kind of launch?
I think they should build their brand. They should
What does
focus.
that even mean? What is build? Because everybody says build your
Mhm.
brand, but not everybody knows what build your brand means. So
Right.
share with us what building your brand looks like.
So that could mean maybe you need to create a landing page or a website, right? Because now that you've answered why you're going into business, who your ideal customer is, you need to have a place, a platform where people should come and visit or buy your product or service, right?
Right.
So a lot of people do business on Facebook, LinkedIn, all these other social media platforms. But let's just say those platforms goes down due to technology issues or whatever, right? You
Yes.
still have to have a place for your audience to go and stay in communication with them, right? So my recommendation would be to start with your website, start building your website or your landing page so that now you're building credit. People want to know, okay, who is Stephanie A. Wynn? So they can go to stephanieawynn.com. That's my website. They see that, right?
Right.
That's all a part of building your brand. You're building that. You're building the foundation, the simplistic tools.
Right.
On top of that, let's back up a little bit. You've gotten a name, you've gotten a why. You want to trademark your business, right? So now you're securing the brand, right?
Okay.
Because now you can use this name. You don't have to worry about infringing on nobody's intellectual property, or you can move forward with your business, because one thing you don't want to do is start a business and someone else already has its name. Then you've branded it, you've gotten a logo, you've gotten all these things, and now you have to start over
Yeah.
because you didn't do your due diligence in the beginning. So
Right.
once we get all of those things out of the way, building the brand starts with, that's all encompassed of building this brand, your trademark, getting it legalized. Also, you get your website done, you get you start posting on social media, whatever social media platform you decide to select, right? You start branding yourself. So it could be, maybe you're the face of your brand. So maybe you get social media graphics customized and designed around your business brand. You
Mm-hmm.
start posting, you start serving your community of people, and you continue, you show up all the time. You show up, you're consistent, whether that's 5 days a week, 3 days a week, but you're showing up all the time. And
Yeah.
so once you've built that brand, now when you're wanting to take your business to the next level, some people may say, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. Well, what does that look like?
Yeah.
But if you don't have a website, you don't have a landing page, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So
And
that's
part of the thing about the website as well is you're building an email database, which I think is very underestimated.
mm-hmm.
I think a lot
Yes.
of people forget that little tool is
Mm-hmm.
actually very powerful when you have an email database of
Yes.
clients.
Yes.
And so, for example, one thing I did with my coaching clients this year was at Christmas time, I send them a little letter about here's some tips and tricks that you can use during the holidays to
Mm-hmm.
keep your anxiety low and keep yourself grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a simple thing, but it went out. And the reality is somebody who may not have been a client with me for a little bit gets this and is like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I could really use her services.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to
Definitely.
contact her,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for people to understand an email address is actually a powerful thing.
Yes, definitely. And you want to keep in contact with your audience so that they know what's going on, because like you said, there may be something that they can use, that maybe they haven't been your customer in a while, or somehow they've gotten on your email list of a freebie you've given away,
Right.
but you have something that they need right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
So building the website, trademarking your name, whatever company name you choose.
Right.
And branding, starting to brand. What do you feel? How do you feel about using things like Canva and stuff like that for creating your content?
Definitely. So if you can't afford a graphic designer, Canva is your best friend. Canva.com. That should be your best friend. There's also other websites that you can, utilize as far as creating graphic or your content. Remember, your content, you can repurpose your content. It just depends on how creative you are, but Canva is that's a starting point. Canva have the graphics. If you want to post on social media, you can use canva.com and just post your graphics. Yes.
Oh, hang on. I think I spelt it wrong. Hang on.
Yes.
It's not Canvas, because that's my
Yes.
autocorrect on my phone.
Okay.
Let's try that again, everyone. Because apparently I'm struggling with spelling and my phone is trying to correct me.
Yes.
Canva. No, see, it did it again, silly phone.
You must have an iPhone.
No, I have it's a Google Pixel 6.
Oh.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
So Canva, yes.
Gotcha.
Canva.com. And if you pay a little extra, you get a pro membership for Canva.
Yes.
And it opens up, you have an opportunity in there to build your brand.
Right.
And brand colors, even something as simple as colors.
Yes.
You've got to look into and research, because some colors are offensive automatically, psychologically, and some colors are soothing. And so you really do need to research colors. And I know people are like, really? But
yes, definitely.
Right?
That's all a part of branding. Having your colors be succinct with your brand and the business, right? So that when they see you, they know it's you. And that's the key with trademarking too. Like a lot of people, the trademark is there for the consumer. So the consumer can know that, okay, Louis Vuitton, we know what Louis Vuitton looks like. We know what Gucci looks like. We know what Starbucks looks like. We know what Dunkin' Donuts look like, right? Yeah. So the goal is for you to pretty much stay consistent with your brand colors. That's all a part of the brand development process. Yes. Right. Knowing your color hex codes, knowing having your logo, having, again, it's just the simple things, those simple tools. And Canva, like we said earlier, is definitely a good platform to start. Yeah,
definitely. I use Canva.
Yes.
So it's a very simple, and I'm not very tech savvy, I will tell you. I am not tech savvy.
Yes.
Usually the computer and myself, like tonight, are having an argument. And it's winning, okay? So Canva is very super easy. Super easy to use. And you can take out pictures, put in your own brand content pictures, your stock file pictures. You can change the colors, the wording, add your website on the bottom or wherever. It's super easy to use.
Yes.
And I think one of the things too, when it comes to starting your business, is if you have an idea about what it is that you want to provide, I think it's really important go for it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think a lot of people are afraid of all that. Like, we've just kind of skimmed the surface of how to start your business.
Yes.
And I can feel people are going, that just sounds like a lot. Oh my God. Right? So don't be afraid.
Yes. And to add to that is, I think it's so much of where, you're on information overload when you're starting a business. There's so much information out here. There's so much, you see other people doing things and you question, what if it doesn't work out? Maybe who's going to buy from me? I'm doing a series on, talking about pricing. Because a lot of times we start a business, we underprice our products or services, not because we maybe we feel like no one is who's going to buy from us at this price. Why would they buy from me if nobody really knows who I am? And that's why it's so important to build the brand, show up consistently for your audience, because if nobody knows that you exist, nobody knows to buy into what you're selling. So that's the key to building a brand. And I'm going back to brand because, again, like I said, if nobody knows that you exist as a business owner, nobody knows to buy into your product or your service. And so we have to get out of being afraid. We do know one thing. If you don't do it, you will have regrets, right? If you don't start the business, you will have regrets. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to live in fear. Fear does not live here.
I love that.
Yes, fear does not live here.
I love that.
So the goal is just basically to be intentional. If your business idea is going to help someone, there's one, even if it's one person that can use what you have, then let them know that you have this available to them. Start the business, write out the plan, because I will say this.
Yes.
Everybody is not going to be your audience. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. You also have to be okay with being told no. No is not a bad thing. No is actually a good thing. It makes you stronger, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing people need to be aware of is I don't look at things like failure. I used to have a huge fear of failure. And I was like, when the business, fails or whatever, and you're like, and you're shaming, and I'm never going to do this again because I failed. But failure is lessons, right? So I fail often.
Yes.
Because how else are you going to learn if you don't fail? Right? So it didn't work out the first time.
Right.
Maybe come at it from a different angle, or maybe try a different thing.
Right.
Right? So fail often, everyone. Fail often.
Yes. And that's the key. Like, I think it's more of, I think it's the unknown. Not knowing what's to come. But you have to just do it. Listen, the makers of Facebook, they started in the garage, so we all have to start from somewhere. That's the beauty of it. You won't know, you have to know your business ins and outs, right? And so you want to make sure that when you're building this business, that you're clear on what you're doing. A lot of times people who are starting or aspire to be a business owner or aspire to start a business, we sit and we overthink and we try to perfect this and perfect that. And you keep perfecting, and then a year goes by, you're still perfecting. Nothing has gotten started. So I just say, step out on faith and just start the business. You gotta step out.
Yeah. And the other thing too is one of the mistakes I made was at the beginning was assuming I knew what the client wanted. Right?
Yeah.
We can't assume that because we don't know what the client wants, right? So ask.
Yes.
Right? When you figured out your demographic, right? Literally sit down and think, who am I providing this product for?
Right.
Think of that person, envision that whole person.
Mm-hmm.
Is it male, female? What age group? What do they do for a living? Socioeconomic stat, like everything.
Yes.
Literally get to the nitty gritty. And then ask that group, what is it that you want? And they
Mm-hmm.
will tell you,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you market to that group,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And definitely figuring out what their pain point, I think, is important as well,
Yes. That's
right?
true. That is so
Yeah.
true. That is
Oh,
true.
Paula says, hi. Hi,
Hey,
Paula.
Paula. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for watching us on What Has Changed Your Life.
Yes.
We are here with Stephanie. She is author and business mentor, and we are talking about women in business.
Yes.
How do we
Yes.
get more women out in the business world?
I think, we gotta get what we just talked about, like that fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing if this is going to work out. I think it's more of, what do they call it now? Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that really is pretty much just a lack of confidence. And I think you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself more so before you start the business, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't believe in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how do you expect other people to believe in you to buy what you're selling? I
Yeah.
don't care if you're selling Sharpies, or you're doing hair, you're cutting hair. You have to believe enough to know that, okay, what I'm going to sell you is going to be of value to you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to deliver, and I'm going to give you an experience. So people want an experience, right?
Yeah.
Same thing like if we go to Chick-fil-A, we go to Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks.
Yeah.
They create an experience for you, right? And they've built up enough brand equity in their businesses that they believe so much in their business they can charge what they want to charge.
Yes.
Same thing with women in business. Like, I think it's more of not being afraid that it's not going to work. It's going to work because you got the idea to start the business.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to put the pieces together, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
With this plan, you have to plan it. Make sure you have a strategic plan and understand what it is that you're doing.
Yes.
Right? Truly
Yeah.
understanding what you're doing.
And knowing your worth,
Oh, yes.
right? I
Yes.
think is huge.
Yes.
I think a lot of women downplay their worth
Yes.
in the business community,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when they have an offering.
Yes.
And then they, like you said, they don't charge what they're worth.
Right. And that's why I wanted to have a masterclass about charging your worth, because with confidence, because I talked about this today on my live, that
Mm-hmm.
you have to know your worth. And that knowing your worth goes back to believing in yourself, who you are.
Paula says, I love Stephanie Wynn. She is awesome.
Oh, thank you, Paula.
Cheerleader. And Paula also said, this is a great conversation. It is a
Yes.
great
Yes.
conversation because
Yes.
a lot of women need to hear this.
Yes.
Because there's so many, I talk to a lot of people and they have so many great ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Mm-hmm.
so afraid to put themselves out there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And Paula's
That's
saying,
true.
so true. So true.
That's
It's nice
true.
to meet you too, Paula. Nice
Yes,
to have a cheerleader.
yes. That's definitely is. I think they are afraid of putting themselves out there. I think and that comes from not just truly knowing their true ideal customer. And I think once they find that out, Tracy, I think it will definitely help them with getting over that hump. I remember with my ice cream shop. Like I had nobody to help me, like except for my husband, my mom, and my dad and my kids. That was it.
Yeah.
But I was so elated with starting my ice cream shop. I was 23 years old. I was young. I was like the youngest African-American female in my community who had an
Right.
ice cream shop at the age of 23. So
That's awesome.
I was excited. You know, I had
Yeah.
a grand opening, didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't give up. I did not give up. I knew I wanted to bring families together. I wanted the kids to smile. So I knew I was going to do that. I'll figure out the rest later, right?
Yeah. And who doesn't like ice cream, for goodness sake?
I know. I know.
To me, that's a win right there.
Yes, yes, yes.
What did you call the ice cream shop? I'm just curious.
So my ice cream shop was called Chunky Sundae Ice Cream.
Chunky
And
Sundae.
I had my logo was a sundae in a waffle cone. I mean, it was a waffle bowl, and it was chunks of strawberries, cherries, pineapples. And we used to have every Sunday here at a local park. It was called Chunky Sunday, where everyone would get together and meet up. And so my husband and I at the time, we started the ice cream shop, and it was called Chunky Sunday, but Sunday spelled like the Sunday, SANSUNDAE.
As opposed to the day of the week.
Yes, yes.
I love it. That's a great play on words.
Yes. So,
how long did you own it for?
We had it for, I think, 2.5, 3 years. And then we went through a divorce. So we had to sell the ice cream shop. And then I moved on to another business. But entrepreneurship has always been a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. It stemmed from my grandfather. He was an entrepreneur. So I just always saw him when he would run his business, and I just knew I wanted to be a business owner.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yes.
And being fearless, right?
Yes.
It sounds like you were very fearless. You're like, woo, I'm going to open this shop. That's it.
Yes, it was. And it was like, I learned a lot. I learned how to bid on like equipment. I learned so many skills with just starting that first business. I learned how to speak up for myself when I'm doing business. If something isn't right, you got to speak up for yourself, because if you don't speak up for your business, who's going to speak up for you, right? People will walk right over you. So that business is what prompted me to write my book, Ready, Set, Go, A Simple Guide to Establishing a Successful Small Business, because I didn't have a point of reference. I knew that there's individuals out here that want to start businesses. Specifically, when we talk about the women, they aspire to start a business, but they just don't have a point of reference. So I wanted to create a simple guide to help those in business start their business, and start it from a basic foundation, like not something that's so complex. You know, there's a lot of programs out here. There's a lot of books out here, great books, but people need simplicity. People want simplicity where they can start their business from the ground up without the overwhelm, right? Because again, we all are already on information overload. So I wanted to give my co-author, and I wanted to give these individuals the information that they will need to be successful, and they can apply the tools that we have in our book right away and start implementing them in their business.
And where can people get your book?
They can go to stephaniewynn.com, select the shop tab, and they can select the workbook and the book there. And it's Ready, Set, Go, A Simple Guide to Establishing a Successful Small Business. So
Ready,
that's
Set, Go.
And that's READI. I spelled ready with an I.
Oh, okay. Let me change that. Let me just change that.
You're really good, Tracy, on the mobile app. I got to try that.
Ready, set, go.
Yes.
All right. Let me just put that up there. There we go. There's the name of the book.
Ready, Set, Go. And again, it's stephaniewynn.com. And yes, so that is, I'm working on my second book that is coming out soon. Actually, I got 2 books in the works, but the second book is really going to help my author community or those business owners who want to write a book. It's going to really help them with getting their books out there in front of their audience.
That's fantastic, because I think it would be so, like, I would have loved a book like that when I was starting.
Yes.
Right? Simple, effective instructions on how to get going.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that's would have taken a lot of guesswork and a lot of booze that I made out of it.
I even talk about in the first chapter, we talked about why do businesses fail? Because I wanted people to understand that you may not fail in your business as far as closing the doors. You may fail in marketing. Like you may overspend in marketing, or you may not have put enough into marketing to get the word out about your business, right? Yeah. Or you may get upset because your support team, like your friends and family, they're not supporting you. You can't get upset when they don't support you because it's not their journey. It's not their business. It's not that they don't want to support you. They just don't have any interest in starting a business, right? And you have to be okay with that. And it's not that they're doing it maliciously. It's just that you have this idea. They don't even understand what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right. And you have to be okay with that. You just need to surround yourself around like-minded individuals who understand where you are on your journey. It's okay. I think I learned a lot along the way. I learned a lot that although I wanted to take some of my friends with me, it wasn't that I couldn't take them with me. It's just that it wasn't their journey.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very true.
It wasn't their journey. It wasn't their journey. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying, like having that information so that would have made it simplistic for me.
Paula says good stuff. It is good stuff. Yes. Because you know what? Nobody talks about this stuff.
Right.
Right? We only talk about the successes. Right?
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
This is starting a business is that's one thing that I want to do with helping my entrepreneur community. People don't see the ugly part. Yeah. Like, when I wrote my book, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I still was in debt to my publisher. I still had to pay my publisher. I had started a business, but I had to put that on pause because I had to get my health under control.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we see the success. Oh, I was homeless and then I became a millionaire, right?
Yeah.
People want, well, what happened in between that? Like, what happened? What happened between? Something had to happen between you being homeless and becoming a millionaire. Like, what was the ugly parts? Yeah. What was it like when you had no money in the bank, but you still had this business and you still had to show up? Or you underpriced a program and you had to use money from your budget to make good on this program, right? These are things that nobody talks about. And that's what I want to do. I want to change the narrative because like you and I are having this discussion, Tracy, people need to hear that ugly part. That's why it's so important to really, truly understand your price point, your pricing, not price point, but your pricing in your products or services. Because if you get an understanding of that in the beginning, it's going to save you headaches on the back end, right? So you can understand like how much is it going to cost for you to deliver this product or service? Yeah. What are the expenses that you're going to incur with delivering these products and services? And that is what they're not talking about. And I think that goes to answer your question too. That's probably why a lot of women are on the fence because it's so scary. Oh, what about this? And how much is this going to cost? And what do I need to do to make this happen? Right. Yeah. So that's why we should have more discussions like these, because people need to hear it. They definitely need to hear it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And know that it's okay,
It's okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's hard work. Having a business, there's no question it's hard work, right?
Yep.
But you've got to have a strong foundation, even just to, launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why having these conversations are really good, because we've made boo-boos
Mm-hmm.
and we've made mistakes and we learn from them and we're sharing them so
Mm-hmm.
that maybe you won't make the same mistake we did, right?
Right.
But
Right.
also knowing that when we do make mistakes, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
perfectly okay.
Yes.
What do you
Yes.
think the number one thing that people do commonly that is kind of a mistake that you're like, why are people doing that? What's the one thing that you can think of off the top of your head that people do all the
Uh,
time?
well, there's two things that come to mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think people sell their product or service to everybody,
Mm.
and everybody is not your customer.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I see that all the time. Specifically, I'll use an example: authors. Authors, they publish a book. They say, "Oh, my book is available on Amazon. Go buy my book."
Mm-hmm.
But nobody knows that you were even writing a book. You
Yeah.
haven't branded yourself as an author, so nobody really knows to buy your book. So what happens is that the author, they gets frustrated because nobody's buying the book. That's one. Like, we'll sell to people before we even have a marketing strategy,
Yeah.
right? Um, Another thing is, I hear people say this all the time. You need to do you need to do this. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Facebook. You need to do reels. You need to do this, this, and this. But that may not be your insights, your insights on Instagram. Maybe the content for me may be just my graphics. I may get more interaction with my graphics than reels. Okay,
Right.
yes, maybe you make money on reels, but everybody isn't the same.
Yeah.
Everybody's content is not the same, and everybody's not going to get the same reaction. And I think that what happens is we're grabbing for straws, right? And
Yes.
we're looking for, oh, if I post over here on Instagram, if I post on LinkedIn, if I post on Facebook, if I post be on Clubhouse, if I'm going live. And what happens is you're doing all this stuff and it's really not generating anything. And so I think you have to really be clear on who your ideal client is,
Yes.
where they're the most active. Once you find out where they are the most active, because it could be that your audience isn't even online,
Mm. That's a great point.
right? Your
Yes.
audience could be offline.
Yes.
So you have to find this out in the beginning. That's why it's so important for you to have a plan, a strategy, so you know exactly who these people are. Um, those are the two things that I see, that people, they don't have a plan. They're just selling,
Mhm.
selling, selling to crickets.
Yeah.
And then they get frustrated
Yeah.
because they don't know who their audience is,
Yeah.
right? Or again, imposter syndrome kicks in. Why would someone want to buy from me?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't have, like you said, they don't know their worth.
Yeah.
You may have a good business model, but because you don't believe in yourself, you can't even get started because you've
Yeah.
talked yourself out of this opportunity,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So, or you've allowed other people to tell you that, oh, I wouldn't do that because that doesn't sound like a good idea,
Or
right?
or that didn't work for me,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right,
Mm-hmm.
Paula. This is real talk. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
And the thing is, to go back to you talking about all these different platforms, all these different things,
Mm-hmm.
When you're starting a business or going into a business, there's so much information.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen creators, they're like, do these 5 things and you're going to get all these clients,
Mm-hmm.
or do this 1 tip and you're going to
Yes.
make this many sales,
Mm-hmm.
and then it doesn't work.
Right.
Right. And then you're almost like you're grasping at the air
Mm-hmm.
to make
Mm-hmm.
something stick.
Yes.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing's working. People are forgetting too that a lot of these content creators have a massive team.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly to your point, they may not be selling to you, right?
Right.
But they make
Mm-hmm.
it generic so they can get as many people looking at their stuff as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got people behind them that are like
Right.
10, 20, 50 people deep at least
Yes.
when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to content, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things too is be real.
Mm-hmm.
Like being yourself, be who you
Yes.
are, be true to who you are.
Right.
And I think that will also resonate with your audience, with the people you're
Yes.
trying to get to.
Because people want to know, like, they want to be able to relate to you, right? And I
Yeah.
think that you got to be intentional about what you do. You got to be intentional about what you do. I mean, sure, I could sell you this Sharpie. I talked about this today. I could sell you this Sharpie.
Yeah.
And because I believe in me, I
Mm-hmm.
have enough confidence to know that I can sell this Sharpie.
Yep.
But the bottom line is I need to be authentic about me selling you this Sharpie. I'm not just going to sell you this Sharpie just because I like it. It's what value does this Sharpie bring to you?
Yes.
Right. So we have to be more intentional about what it is that we're doing, whether it's a product-based or service-based business. I
Mm-hmm.
think being your authentic self, being able to resonate with people. Sure, we all are going through something. We've all gone through adversity, as you know, in life
Mm-hmm.
alone, right?
Yeah.
But we can't allow that to keep us from our destiny, because we all have a gift. And I think that women specifically, we wear so many hats, we
Yeah.
juggle so many tasks
100%.
that you know, we got to cook, we got to make sure the house is clean, we got to do this, this, and this, that by the time we get to our thing, which is this business idea, we don't know what we don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what you don't know, that's fine. Just get around people who can really help you, that you can trust,
Yeah.
that can help you bring your vision to reality.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
1,000%. A
Yes.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this
Yes.
episode of What Has Changed Your Life. I'm sorry
Yes.
we were chatting away and I just looked at the time and thought, wow,
Yes. Thank you
this
so much,
was awesome.
Tracy, for having me on. This was really good. This is definitely a much needed conversation, like, you know,
Yeah,
business. I mean, it really is a good, you know, a, a good topic.
it's a
Starting a business is
fantastic
always a
topic.
good topic. Yes.
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 And everybody go get the book. Ready, set, go.
StephanieAWin.com. Yes.
Go get it. If you're thinking of starting a business, grab the book and start educating yourself.
Yes.
Get your why, get
Mm-hmm.
your branding, get your foundation, and go for it.
Yes.
We're never
Yes.
too old, and it's
Mm-mm.
never too late.
It's never too late.
And fail often.
Yep. Yes.
Awesome.
All
Thank you
righty.
so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Paula, for
Thank you
being
so
on
much.
here.
Yes. Thank you, Paula, for tuning in. Thank you so
Yes,
much, Tracy, for having me. This was really
you're very
good.
welcome. And everybody, we'll see you on the next episode of What Has Changed Your Life. Have a
All
great
right.
night.
Bye.